When we think of the great wizards of Middle-earth, three names come to mind: Gandalf the Grey, Saruman the White, and Radagast the Brown. Each played their role in the war against Sauron, standing against the tide of darkness in the west. But there were two others, the Blue Wizards, whose story is shrouded in mystery. Alatar and Pallando, the forgotten Istari, were sent into the vast unknown east, and their fate remains one of the greatest enigmas in Tolkien's legendarium. The Blue Wizards, known in the Sindarin tongue as the Ithrin Luin, were part of a powerful order. They were not men but Maiar, angelic beings chosen by the Valar, the guardians of Arda, to aid the free peoples of Middle-earth against the shadow of Sauron. These were not soldiers or generals. They were guides, mentors, and symbols of hope. But unlike Gandalf and the others, who remained in the familiar lands of the West, Alatar and Pallando ventured far beyond the reach of most tales into the uncharted regions of Middle-earth. Alatar, the first of the Blue Wizards, was chosen by the Vala Orome, the Great Hunter. Orome was known for exploring the wild, untamed regions of the world, seeking to drive out the servants of Morgoth. It is fitting, then, that Alatar's mission was to travel into the east, a land dominated by Sauron's influence. But Alatar did not go alone. He brought with him Pallando, another Maiar spirit, who was likely chosen by Mandos or Nienna, though Tolkien never made this clear. Together they set out on a mission unlike any other. While Gandalf, Saruman, and Radagast focused on the free peoples of the West, elves, dwarves, and men of Gondor and Rohan, the Blue Wizards were sent to lands few in the West had ever seen, the distant East and South, where the cultures of the Haradrim, the Variogs, and the Easterlings flourished under Sauron's shadow. The purpose of their journey was simple in theory, yet monumental in scope: to weaken Sauron's hold on the East by inspiring rebellion, fostering resistance, and perhaps even sowing chaos among his allies. Tolkien himself hinted at this in his writings, noting that the Blue Wizards might have founded secret societies of resistance to oppose the Dark Lord. But how much they succeeded, or whether they succeeded at all, remains a matter of speculation. What makes their story so compelling is how little we know. Unlike Gandalf, whose deeds were carefully chronicled, or Saruman, whose fall was tragically clear, the Blue Wizards seem to vanish into the east, swallowed by the vastness of Middle-earth's untold history. Were they heroes quietly fighting against Sauron's dominion in lands far from the reach of Gondor and Rivendell? Or did they succumb to the very darkness they were sent to oppose, becoming new tyrants in the east? Tolkien himself changed his mind about their fate multiple times. In his earlier writings, he suggested that Alatar and Pallando were successful in their mission, playing a vital role in weakening Sauron's strength in the east. Later, he seemed less certain, hinting that they may have failed, been corrupted, or simply disappeared into obscurity. This uncertainty adds to their mystique, leaving fans to wonder, what really happened to the Blue Wizards? To understand the journey of the Blue Wizards, we must first understand their mission. Unlike Gandalf, who was sent to rally the free peoples of the West, or Saruman, who sought to study the enemy, Alatar and Pallando were tasked with a far greater challenge: to travel into the uncharted lands of the East and South, where Sauron's power was strongest. The East had always been a land of danger and mystery. During the First Age, it was home to vast tribes of men who lived far from the influence of the elves and the Valar. While some of these peoples, like the Edain, eventually came westward to ally with the elves, many remained under the sway of Morgoth, the original Dark Lord. This legacy of darkness persisted long after Morgoth's fall, and by the Third Age, these lands were firmly under Sauron's shadow. These regions were critical to Sauron's war machine. From the east came countless armies of Easterlings, hardened warriors who marched beneath black banners, wielding cruel weapons forged in the dark forges of Rhûn. From the south came the Haradrim, bringing war elephants and an unyielding loyalty to the Dark Lord. These lands were vital to Sauron's plans, and it was here that the Blue Wizards were sent to weaken his dominion. Tolkien's writings suggest that the Blue Wizards' mission was not to lead armies or confront Sauron directly, but to undermine his power from within. They were meant to inspire resistance among the peoples of the East and South, turning them against Sauron. Some theories even suggest they were to act as spies, gathering intelligence and spreading dissent. But the challenge they faced was immense. These were lands where Sauron's influence was not just political, it was cultural, spiritual, and deeply entrenched. Unlike the free peoples of the West, the Easterlings and Haradrim had little knowledge of the Valar or the light of the West. To them, Sauron was not a tyrant, but a god, a being of power and authority who demanded their allegiance. Breaking that hold would have required incredible cunning, diplomacy, and perhaps a measure of deception. Were Alatar and Pallando up to the task? Or was the darkness of the East too great for even the Maya to challenge? Tolkien gives us only a few clues about their actions. In his writings, he speculates that they may have founded secret societies of resistance, small groups of rebels who worked to weaken Sauron's control. Imagine hidden movements spreading across Rhûn, leaders whispering tales of hope in darkened halls, inspired by the Blue Wizard's words. If true, their efforts could have played a crucial role in limiting the number of reinforcements Sauron was able to draw from the east during the War of the Ring. Without such resistance, Sauron's forces might have been unstoppable. The armies of Gondor and Rohan already struggled against the Haradrim and Easterlings who joined the battle. What if even greater legions had marched westward? Could the West have survived? The Blue Wizards, if successful, may have ensured that Sauron's dominion over the East was never absolute. But there's another possibility, one far darker. What if the Blue Wizards failed in their mission? Tolkien himself considered this outcome, suggesting that they may have been defeated, corrupted, or lost to the vastness of the East. Some speculate that they became servants of Sauron, or worse, that they set themselves up as new tyrants, ruling over the very peoples they were meant to save. If this is true, then the legacy of the Blue Wizards would be one of tragedy. Rather than weakening Sauron, they might have strengthened him, either by bolstering his armies or by creating chaos that distracted the free peoples of the West. This is where the mystery deepens. Tolkien never settled on their ultimate fate. Were they heroes silently fighting in the shadows? Or did they fall to corruption, becoming enemies of Middle-earth? The answer, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. Though the story of the Blue Wizards remains incomplete, their cultural and symbolic significance in Tolkien's world offers a unique lens through which to view Middle-earth. Beyond their mysterious mission, Alatar and Pallando represent themes of hope, perseverance, and the ever-present danger of corruption. To truly understand their legacy, we must look at the cultures they might have influenced and what their presence symbolized in the larger mythology of Arda. In many ways, the Blue Wizards symbolize the quiet, unseen resistance against tyranny. Unlike Gandalf or Aragorn, who stood at the forefront of open rebellion, Alatar and Pallando worked in the shadows, far from the eyes of the West. To the oppressed peoples of the East, the Blue Wizards might have been more than wizards. They could have been symbols of freedom, encouraging ordinary men and women to rise against their oppressors. Even if these rebellions were small and localized, they may have planted seeds of resistance that would one day grow into something greater. The Blue Wizards also represent an important link between the East and the West. Middle-earth's history is often told from the perspective of the free peoples of the West, Gondor, Rohan, and the elves of Rivendell and Lothlorien. But the East and South were home to rich and diverse cultures with their own languages, traditions, and histories. Could Alatar and Pallando have served as bridges between these worlds? If the Blue Wizards succeeded in their mission, they may have helped create understanding between these distant cultures, showing the people of the East that Sauron's power was not inevitable and that the light of the West was not their enemy. This would have been a monumental task, requiring patience, wisdom, and a deep respect for the peoples they encountered. The color blue itself holds deep symbolic meaning in Tolkien's world. Unlike the fiery red of Sauron or the stark white of Saruman, blue evokes a sense of calm, mystery, and wisdom. It represents the heavens, the sea, and the farthest horizons, all things that lie beyond the reach of ordinary men. By donning blue robes, Alatar and Pallando embody the unknown and the unexplored. In many ways, their journey into the East mirrors the very nature of Middle-earth itself, a place of vast mysteries and untold stories. Just as Tolkien left much of the East unwritten, the Blue Wizards stand as a reminder that not every tale has an ending, and not every hero's deeds are known to history. At the same time, the Blue Wizards serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of isolation. Unlike Gandalf, who worked closely with the free peoples of the West, Alatar and Pallando were cut off from allies, venturing into lands where the Valar's influence was nearly non-existent. In such isolation, the temptation of power would have been immense. If they fell to corruption, their story would mirror that of Saruman, a warning about how even the wisest and most noble can be led astray. The Blue Wizards, then, remind us of the fine line between leadership and tyranny, between guiding others and seeking dominion over them. In the end, the Blue Wizards leave us with more questions than answers. Were they heroes, villains, or simply wanderers who were lost to time? Perhaps their true legacy lies not in what they accomplished, but in what they represent. A challenge to the simplicity of good and evil, and a testament to the vast untold stories that lie within Middle-earth.